Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom with Kate Olson. As an evolving spirit and change adventure navigator, it is Kate's mission to empower and guide you on your path and inspire your truest passions. She will encourage you to share your gifts, speak your truth, and ignite your inner wisdom and purpose. She hopes to do so with a little humor and grace and her own soulfire passion. Kate talks with amazing guests who have embraced the pursuit and are fanning the flames of their own passion, purpose, and soulfire wisdom. Now here's your host, Kate.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom and Tips, Tricks, and Triumphs Tuesday. So I have a triumph for you today. I probably should say if this is your first time and possibly last time, but hopefully not. Hopefully you'll listen to other shows. I'm a hypnotherapist, a life coach, an NLP practitioner, and a Reiki master. But I like to call myself a change adventure navigator because I love guiding clients through obstacles and adversity to find their path, purpose, and peace. So anyway, today I have a triumph and a tip for you. Well, the triumph is getting through 4 years of doing a weekly radio show podcast to this point where I'm ready to step up and go in a new direction. And the tip is we get stressed not just from things that are happening in our lives that that might be bad or that we worry about, but we also experience stress over things that are happening in our life that might be good or that we're really looking forward to. Ask any bride about that, or anybody who is starting a new business, and you'll find out that it's totally true. So one of the most important things to remember when you're embarking on a good change is to concentrate on a lot of self-care and self-affirmation. And so I've been doing that this week. I've been, telling myself that I have unlimited ideas, that, the new course that I'm embarking on is going to be much better, much prosperous, much more abundant, and more in line with my goals. So that's my tip. Do a lot of self-care and positive affirmation. So I'm excited to get to the actual show. I'm having a guest host, Terry Britt. She was actually on the show just, a few weeks to a month ago, I think. And Terry is a former Miss USA, former podcast host of Leading with Love, energy healer, and the current founder of Women Leaders of Love. And she actually has a background in broadcasting. So I'm honored to be interviewed here by a real professional. So I'm happy to introduce Terry now.
Thank you, Kate. It's so nice to be here. Well, I'm laughing because I'm thinking, wow, this setup here in my office is way different than the old television setup.
Yeah, it's the modern COVID broadcaster.
It is totally the modern COVID broadcaster. Oh my goodness. And it's been many years since I did that. Thank you for allowing me to be here to support you as you take that next leap, right? Because This is your
Yes.
final
And
broadcast,
and
right?
I actually got this idea to be interviewed from Terry because she ended her show, Leading with Love, with having someone come on and interview her. So
I did. It was so funny because I was having a guy come on to the show and he says, well, I need to interview you. And I'm like, what? On my show? You want to interview me? And so we did a 2-part series where I interviewed him. And then the next week he interviewed me. And I said, I just felt like that was the end, that was the perfect time to end it. So this is a big deal. This is a big deal. As you said, you've been doing a weekly radio show for 4 years.
yeah.
It's huge. How are you feeling?
Well, a little bit sad because, I won't get to say we have another great show next week.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about having more time to do a lot of the other projects that I want to do, about moving in a new direction, and actually about using some of the things that I've learned over the course of these 4 years to do other things better.
Isn't that the way it works? Don't you feel like you've been in this maybe a 4-year university, maybe even getting your doctorate, because when you have guests on, you learn so much. Have you felt that way?
Yes, I felt like it was a great learning experience on 2 levels, both for the reason why I embarked on it in the first place and the learning that I've gotten from all the wonderful guests that I've had on.
And so
So,
why did you embark on it on the first place? I mean,
well, I
tell us,
had
tell us, tell us. I feel like you're hinting.
I had a terrible fear of speaking, and it started in the mid 90s when I was doing workshops, just little small workshops. And then they were successful and people started inviting me to speak, which I knew was good, but it scared me to death. And I actually did get up in front of a large group of people then and froze. I just totally forgot what I had planned to say.
Ooh.
I didn't stop talking. I did talk, but I didn't say anything close to what I had planned to say. And so that I stopped doing my workshops for a lot of different reasons then. So it had been a long time since then.
Right.
That experience was sort of embedded. And so I thought when I started out doing the life coaching that, I didn't think I would be speaking. I thought that was just something I could not do. But then I kept getting presented with these opportunities. Like I was invited to speak at the Personal Development Symposium at the Harvard Faculty Club. And, I just couldn't turn down that opportunity.
Yeah. Wow.
And first I said, well, I'll come, but I won't speak. I'll just participate in the roundtables and discussions. And then they put out this little booklet, and I saw everybody else was speaking. And I thought, if I don't, I'm going to regret it. So I decided that I would. I ended up and that was a week before the event. And I ended up preparing my speech on the plane, and it went okay. I didn't freeze, and people liked my speech, but I didn't feel like I had done what I would have liked to. So I committed at that time that I was going to get over my fear of speaking. And around that same time, I got an email from Cameron, who you know, saying, have you ever thought about doing a radio show? Yep. And I just left that in my email, actually for almost a whole year.
Wow.
because
Really? A
because my
year?
thought on it was, no, I really have never thought about doing a radio show. And then I
Oh.
mentioned it to Michelle Hoffman, who I started out doing Embrace Change with Kate and Michelle with. And
Mhm.
Michelle was one of those people that wanted to do motivational speaking. She did not have a fear of speaking.
Mhm.
So she said, "Oh my God, we're doing this." So that's how we started the first radio show. And for me, it was really difficult in the beginning.
Wow. What were you afraid of? Because I think they say public speaking is the scariest thing for anybody to do, right? But so let's just give
Mhm.
a little insight here. I mean, when you say you were so afraid of speaking, what were you afraid of? Have you ever really checked in to see what that was?
Well, with getting up in front of a large group of people, it was the people that scared
Okay.
me.
Okay.
Um, uh, with the radio show, to begin with, it was, not remembering what I wanted to say and it not
Mhm.
coming out right. So in the beginning, it was pretty scripted. And
Mhm.
um, now when I listen to those first shows, it's like painful for me because it was so scripted. And it was hard to get away from that once you started doing that
Mhm.
formula.
Mhm.
So that is why I started doing Soul Talks, which is a video blog, and it's just a conversation on a pre-decided topic. And that kind of got me out of that. So
Mhm.
I realized that I could actually just talk,
Yeah.
which I wasn't sure before. I was
Uh-huh.
afraid that I would start talking and then, freeze up or forget what I was going to say, or it would just, you know, not be coherent or something.
Right. Now, just so we're clear, because your soul talks, you're still doing that and you're going to continue to do those
Yes, I'm
conversations, right?
actually going to be doing more of the soul talks going
Okay.
forward because they align more with my coaching and my, what I want to offer people.
Right.
As we talked about earlier, I have loved learning what other people do and,
Yes.
you know, having them on the show and presenting that to the audience.
Mhm.
But um, it isn't really that helpful to me and my business.
Mhm.
So I other than it, I have done things that align with mind, body, spirit wellness. But I want to make sure that going forward, the things that I'm doing are more aligned with
Mhm.
what I offer as a healer.
I love that. So, when I did my radio show, there were shows that really stood out to me that I got
Mhm.
something from that just maybe changed my life or made me feel like, wow, that was so cool that I got to have that conversation. Is there any one thing that stands out to you? Any gift that came to you through the whole process? I mean, obviously you got stronger in your voice, right? And that affects everything.
Yes,
So that's a big win,
definitely.
right? But is there anything that stands out to you?
Um, well, I guess I've learned something from almost every guest I've had on,
Mhm.
whether they were talking about business or they were talking about healing, their,
Mhm.
offerings as a healer. Some of them I have actually, like I've gone like, huh, and had those aha moments. And one of those was I, I had met at that first talk at Harvard. I met a
Mhm.
woman who her talk was on narcissistic relationships. And, at first I listened to what she was saying, but it didn't seem like it applied to my life. So I, said, "Oh, that was interesting."
Right.
And then we were actually at that. I went back 3 times to that conference.
Okay.
And she was at every one. So, and she talked on the same topic. So, the second one, it dawned on me that I had a stalker in my life. And it dawned on me as she was
That's
talking
terrifying.
yeah, it was. But another story that he was a narcissist.
Hmm.
Now, it wasn't somebody that I had a primary relationship with, but I started, recognizing the ways in which he had affected me and
Yeah.
that I had reacted the way people in narcissistic relationships react. So that was very enlightening. And I had her on, I had her both on Embrace Change with Kate and Soulfire Wisdom.
Right.
So, and that was Dr. Bindu Babu. So
Amazing. Wow. Isn't that crazy how you don't recognize it and then all of a sudden it's right there in front of your face? What a gift, right? That you were
yeah,
able to recognize it.
that's happened, with several different things. So as
Mhm.
you said, it's been a learning experience for me.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know when I was letting go of my show, because I knew that it was time for the next thing, right? It was time to move on. And it was scary. It was a little bit scary because I loved what I was doing. It was like, okay, am I going to be as fulfilled with the next thing? So I'm dying to know. And I know everybody is probably wondering, what is the next thing for you? What are you doing, girl?
Well, I know what part of it is, but I strongly believe that if you want new things in your life, you have to let go of some of the old things to make
Yes.
room for those new things. Because while one of the reasons why I am stopping doing the show is because while I've been doing it, I've been so busy that I didn't really have time for new opportunities and
Mhm.
new, directions. I Writing the book that I've been writing has taken me a lot longer than I thought it would,
Yeah.
just, fitting in the time to do it. And that is actually one of the new things that I'm doing.
Yay.
As you know from having written a book, after you write it, it takes a lot of your time to actually, promote it and tell people about it and all that.
Right.
So that'll be part of what I'm doing. And then for 2 years, I've been interviewing people that are pursuing their passions and telling people to pursue their passions and just emphasizing how important that is. So I am going to be doing more of pursuing my passions.
Woohoo.
And in
That's
some
exciting, isn't it?
way, yes, and in some way, I will share that. I am not sure exactly what that way will be.
Mhm.
My passions are writing, art, travel, and of course, helping people in the healing arts. So, combining all of those,
Mhm.
I have had on my list for a long time, doing some retreats,
Yeah.
but again, haven't had the time to put them together. I'll be having some online courses and probably at least one summit.
Mhm.
I also have like some kind of pet projects that have sort of been on the back burner that I've, wanted to do
Mhm.
and explore how to do them
Yes.
creatively.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I'll
Yeah,
be
I don't
doing
think
that.
people realize how much goes into putting on the show when you do a weekly show.
No.
It seems so easy because you just, it looks like, oh, we show up and we do an interview, but it's the connecting with the guest. It's the learning about them, doing your research. If they have a book or something that you want to read through, I mean, there's a lot of time and effort that
Yeah,
goes into
and
it.
making sure you actually know enough about them to talk to
Yes.
them, and
Yes.
they get all the
Exactly.
material that you need to
Mhm.
use so that you can actually do some promoting and all of that.
Exactly. Exactly. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. Well, I really want us to dive into your book because I know from talking with you that this is definitely a passion of yours, and that
Yeah.
this is one, not only a way of you giving expression to your creative side, but you're really being of service to humanity as I read through it. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about joyful resilience? That's the name
Okay.
of it.
Yeah. Yeah. The book, well, it's Living in Joyful
Yes.
Resilience.
Yeah.
And what the book is about, the main focus is the difference between being merely resilient and being joyfully resilient. And there is a difference. um, and then it's also about explaining, both the history of resilience, why we have seen resilience the way
Mhm.
we have over time, and then in my own life, I saw an example of somebody changing from being just merely resilient to joyfully resilient. And then I went through that process myself. So that's what Terry was talking about. I feel like anyone can become joyfully resilient.
So let's
And
describe that. Can you describe it instead of, because I mean, there is a very much a distinct difference between resilience and joyful resilience. Will you explain that to everybody?
well, our old paradigm of resilience was kind of it comes from, like grit and strength and, pushing yourself through it, but usually with a lot of sadness and suffering. And it is just hard.
Mhm.
And when we go through adversities, it is hard, but if you have a core of joyfulness and a joyful mindset to continuously come back to, then that makes being resilient and getting through those times of adversity uh, much easier and with less sadness and suffering.
Yeah, when I think of joyful resilience, I think of the silver lining,
Yes,
right? It's looking for
yes.
the silver lining. I'm always saying, "What's the gift? What's the gift?" To my kids, will go, "Quit asking me what the gift is. I just want to be, grow up for a second, And so I look at it as how do I embrace this moment so that I can move into a deeper sense of joy? Because if we're always
Yeah.
feeling like a victim, right, we're not going to feel joyful.
Yes, and that is part of it. You
Mhm.
can actually learn to be both more resilient and more joyfully resilient. And if you have that component of joyfulness in your resilience, you will automatically be more resilient because there's traits that make up resilience,
Mhm.
and all of those traits will be stronger, like resourcefulness, perseverance, just all the things you need to be resilient are stronger if you have a mindset or core of resilience. And resilience is not something that's, like said, okay, you're a resilient person or you're not a resilient person. It's something that you can grow in continuously and become more resilient to the point where you don't even think about it. You just know that whatever is going to come up, you're going to get through it.
Can you give some ideas just for people, because they're going to want to read your book? But I think it's always wonderful to yes, it's always wonderful to maybe give a few tips, just something right now that they can begin doing today that's going to bring some joy into the resilience instead of just being resilient, to add that component. Can you give them anything?
Okay, well, I'll give a big secret away.
Okay.
Along with the book, there's an optional journal that comes, and that journal is called Simple Soul Thoughts, Collecting Moments of Joy, and it has prompts for writing down and recording the joyful moments in your life. And that is one way that you can build a reservoir and a mindset of joyfulness that is the underpinning, really, of your resilience.
What I'm really hearing you say is gratitude. So when you can, because when you can write down things that feel joyful, you're actually acknowledging with gratitude. Hopefully you're acknowledging with gratitude.
Yes.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be just gratitude, but gratitude is a big component of it. Yes.
I think, if we can walk through life without feeling like a victim, because we see so much victim mentality in our culture, then it's you against me, right?
Yes.
But if you're coming from a space of joy, which you know, and I both know that then you don't tend to have this attitude of you against me. You want more people to feel joyful, which is why you're bringing out this message, right?
It's also a change in just your individual outlook on the world.
Yeah.
If you're in that victim mentality, you don't feel in control. You feel like life is in control, or fate, or destiny, or something. And that is not empowering.
No.
So
it is not empowering.
Even in bad circumstances, even if things are not going well, knowing that
made you write
are
this
in
particular
control is empowering.
Right.
Go ahead.
We just repeated. That was kind of interesting. There was a glitch. Hopefully it was probably on my end. I live in the mountains of Georgia, work out of my home here. And it's like, you never know what to expect. So with the question I had asked was, what made you want to write this right now? I mean, because I know you want to serve humanity. I get that from everything you do.
I was always planning on writing a book on resilience. There were, several different books on my list, including a children's book.
Oh, how cool.
But I wasn't planning on writing the resilience book first. But it was COVID, us going into the pandemic and then moving to Arizona. Those two things, said, oh, you have to write this resilience book now. Because, resilience was so needed as we went into the, COVID year and a half. And then there is no better example and teacher on resilience than the desert. So, I mean,
and why is that? Explain that.
Well, you see it everywhere. I mean, you look around, trees bend, waterways find their way or
Mm-hmm.
not. I mean, the plants here, they develop roots that reach out and find
Mm-hmm.
water where there wasn't any.
Right.
And yeah, you can't really go a day without seeing some example of, my God, how did that happen?
Yes, I get that. I want to go back to the COVID part because I think for all of us, even those of us who practice this joyful mindset that you're talking about, COVID was interesting. It was triggering. It was, uh, if I found it hard at times, even not just COVID, I mean, all the political stuff we've had over the last couple of years. I mean, there has been so much crap around us that it is easy to get buried. It is easy to go into a dark tunnel, to go into a rabbit hole and just feel mired in darkness. I mean, people that I know that have been walking a spiritual walk for years are struggling with their
Yes,
with their mental health. So did you experience
that is
anything like that?
true.
Did you have any moments going
Well,
through that?
the move was hard for me, and I am not the isolation, I think, has been hard for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not somebody that usually has, like, I seldom really feel lonely,
Mm-hmm.
even though, I'm alone a lot.
Yeah.
But the enforced isolation,
Mm-hmm.
I started feeling some feelings like that,
Mm-hmm.
and really wanting, more connection with people, and uh, finding it stressful the longer that it went on, and the division too, because
Yes.
it's been, you know, hard to talk to people, even people that you've known and respected in a lot of ways, and then you
Mm-hmm.
find out things that you didn't know.
Exactly. Exactly. And there you feel barriers and stuff. So is there anything that you did in particular to I think of joyful resilience as a reservoir, right? I see it as
Exactly.
this beautiful reservoir. It's like this beautiful lake of joy and and energy and love and abundance. And when you have this kind of stuff happen, that lake starts feeling like it's draining, right?
It does.
So, what was there anything that you did on a daily basis to help build that reservoir or to keep it full?
Yes. It's something that I've tried to do, I don't know, for quite a few years
Mhm.
now, but I became more aware of the necessity to do it, and that is to remember not to dwell on one thought or feeling or emotion. Like, I had to learn that I could be really upset about what was happening politically, or really sad about, the losses over COVID,
Mhm.
and still have small moments of joy in my life. I could still appreciate a sunset. I could still, enjoy watching a romantic comedy. I could still, you know, really enjoy when I got to connect with my family and
Mhm.
talk to them, even if it was, over the phone or Zoom.
Mhm. I completely agree with you on that in the sense it's almost like doing a mind hack, right?
Yes,
Because we can get so mired, and when you can look out and see a sunset and just be present in that moment is huge, right? I mean, it really does fill up that reservoir, and I think that when we get so caught up and we're watching the news and we're watching all this stuff and we get caught up in the mass craziness, we can get sucked in and our reservoir gets drained so quickly. And I think this is why your message is so important, that 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 we all are needing this more than ever right now, right?
Exactly. Yes.
And I really appreciate that you felt inspired because of the pandemic to bring this book out now. I mean, that's your soul talking to you, right? Come bring this out right now.
Yes, it is something that's going to be always helpful to us, but especially now, because there are, so many people that have gone through just so much.
Hmm.
When I think of our healthcare workers and first
Yes,
responders.
exactly. Exactly. So can we dive in a little bit more on the book? Because I know you've got contributors in living in joyful resilience. I mean, I've got notes here. You've got men, you've got women. What is that about? I mean, are they telling their
Yes,
stories?
yes. I have a section on stories of, actually it's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 5
Okay.
chapters
Okay.
I have on stories of resilience. My stories of friends who couldn't tell their own story for one reason or another.
Hmm.
And then I have, I think, 9 different contributors that are telling their stories. And the contributors, some of them are kind of surprising because I chose them because I saw something in the way they had responded to some adversity in their
Hmm.
life that I saw as joyful resilience. Well, it was interesting because I didn't tell them, what they needed to write about. And some of them wrote about something totally different than what I had seen.
Uh-huh.
And so it's just it was interesting
How fun to see other
how the
people.
different stories bring out, different aspects of resilience and joyful resilience.
So in living in joyful resilience, I mean, when do you feel like it's going to come out? Do you have an idea yet?
Well, I am just, you know, like days away from finishing all the writing. And then I have to go through all that process of actually making it a book. So
Yeah.
I 2 to 3 months probably.
Okay, cool. So they can, how will people know where to find it?
Everything has taken longer than I thought it would.
I
But
think that's
I,
everything right now.
yeah, but I'm guessing that will be the case. Well, Soulfire Radio is still going to be there, and I'll be doing different little talks and announcements, and so I will let everybody know when it's actually coming out and available.
Oh,
So
I love
I'll
that.
keep
And
everybody
so,
posted.
and you'll have that, and will the journal come out with it at the same time?
Yes, the journal will be optional, but I think that on the Kindle version, at least, that the starting promotion will be that if they buy the book, they get the journal, the Kindle version of it.
Cool. That's
So
awesome. Awesome. So you've been on this amazing journey, right? You've been doing all of this incredible work. I mean, you've got all these credentials behind you, and now you've done this, radio show for 4 years. You've got your soul talks. I mean, you've got this book, your journal coming out. I mean, it's been an incredible journey for you. Besides just life, right? This is all your
yeah.
creative stuff, right? So what is the thing along the way that has surprised you the most, that maybe you have gained the most wisdom from, that you feel like you'd like to share with people right now?
Okay, so what has surprised me most about life is that at least to this point in my life, that it still keeps getting better. and more, exciting. We're kind of conditioned through our lives that, everything happens when you're young, and that as you get older, the quality and experience of your life declines. And so far, I haven't found that to be true. I have found, and I still believe that, life is exciting and it just keeps getting more exciting.
But I think that's a testament to your joyful, resilient attitude.
Well, I didn't always think that. I bought into the, that, you could only do certain things when you were young, and that, if you, I remember feeling like and saying that I was too old when I was 35.
I've heard that
Now
from
I
other
look
people.
back and say, you were just like a baby. Why
You
did you
baby.
do that? So, and I've had clients who, come into me with that attitude. Well, I can't do this because I'm too old, or hello. Okay, I think we lost Terry. We'll see if she comes back. She said her internet in the Georgia mountains is a little sketchy sometimes. So luckily, we were just about at the end of our questions there.
Did I come back?
We lost you.
It just went away. Who knows
I
what
know.
happened?
It was like,
I'm so sorry about that.
I didn't mean to say that.
It is so true though about what you're saying as far as is it only gets better. I'm about to turn 60 and people go, "How do you feel about that?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding? I am having more fun in my life than I've ever had. I have more freedom to just play and to feel so good in my life, and that's amazing." But I know you said that you didn't always have you didn't always buy into that, but don't you feel that when you are practicing resilience on an everyday with the joy aspect of it, that as you start building that reservoir that we were talking about a moment ago, that why wouldn't it get better?
Exactly. But you don't know that until
Yeah,
you go through the process of realizing that, um, basically life is what you make it. And
absolutely.
you're the designer of your own adventure. So,
Absolutely. And I think that's what your book that you're bringing out, Living in Joyful Resilience, is so important because I sometimes feel like, not sometimes, more often than not, I feel like people don't understand that they have the power to shift it. A lot of times
exactly.
people will just keep being resilient and keep putting the bootstraps on, pulling those bootstraps up, and they keep going, and then life feels hard and they're like, "Well, yeah, but I'm strong. I'm doing
Yes,
this."
yes.
But there's a difference. There's a
Yeah,
difference than being strong and then being joyful. It's like,
yes.
yeah, I
And
can pull my bootstraps on and feel good.
that is actually some of the magic that I enjoy in the work that I do, is seeing clients go through that process of, you know, realizing that they have that power, and
Yes.
that, how transformative and exciting it is. Almost not now, most of them don't do it, but at the end of coaching, when someone has gone through that
Mhm.
transformation, almost all of them think they want to be a coach or a hypnotherapist after it, because they want to share this great
Yes.
experience that they've had. Now, a lot of them, after a while, they realize that, okay, yes, I really love that experience, but that isn't my passion. I want to do this.
Mhm.
And I can still tell people about this experience that I had.
Absolutely. And I think that's what you touched on earlier about following your passions,
Yeah.
because this is the last show, right? But it's the
Last
beginning.
Soulfire Wisdom.
Yeah, it's the last so far wisdom radio show, but this is the beginning of that next step of following your passions, and your passions can evolve and change, and so let's not get so stuck in our passions. So many people get stuck in them, but what you're saying is, okay, I've done this, I'm listening to my soul, I'm listening to my fire, and I'm going to the next thing, right?
Exactly.
I love
Exactly.
that. I love that. So, do you have anything, since this is the last of this show, is there anything you want to add to this message today to give a nice closing for your audience?
Well, I want to let them know that there will still be content on the Soulfire Radio website. There will be all the 109 Soulfire Wisdom shows. And then I'm adding the Soul Talks there.
Mhm.
They are on the YouTube channel, but they will also be in podcast form on the Soulfire Radio. And then I'm adding the best of Embrace Change with Kate. Not all of the episodes, but just some of the best ones to there too. So if you want to listen to podcasts, there'll still be content there.
So, can you give them the URL?
It's soulfireradio.com.
Okay.
And then it gets distributed through Spreaker to all kinds of different platforms like
Okay.
TuneIn and Apple Podcasts and
Sure.
all of
But I just
those.
want people, if they want to come and see all your content right there, they can come
Yeah, if they go
to.
to the website, they can go both to YouTube, or there's a on-demand player for the podcast.
Okay.
So
Cool. Yeah, we want to make sure they know where to find you. And then I'm assuming that on your website, you'll also have, when the book
have a
comes out,
link
you'll
that
have
goes
some,
back to that other channel. So
right, but also your book, so that when it's
yes,
coming
the
out, you'll have
book will
information
be
on there.
there, and all the services that I offer.
All the services. Awesome.
Information on, all those things that might be coming up going
Yes.
forward.
Right. Well,
And that website is soulfirewisdom.com.
soulfirewisdom.com, everybody. Soulfirewisdom.com. All right, Kate. Well, I want to say thank you for allowing me to be here to help you get those wings for the next jump in your life. It's so much fun to see people following their passions, and it was such an honor for you to invite me to come on and ask you some questions, so that your audience could hear from your perspective as the guest, where you could really share your stuff, because you and I both know that when you have people on, you don't really share much of your stuff. You may have a blurb
No,
here and there.
it's more about your guests. So
Yes, exactly. So you wanted to be the guest so that people could hear what you're doing, and I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing, because it is so needed on our planet right now. We need that joy in our lives, in our homes, in our communities, in the world. And so what you're doing is so meaningful, and I just want to say thank you. And I'm going to throw it back to you for anything else you want to say, and I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be a part of this journey.
and thank you for being here and agreeing to do this, and the work
Sure.
that you do.
Oh, thank you.
Creating women leaders and
Of love.
of love and
Yeah.
empowering worthiness. That is so important,
Thank you.
especially
Thank you.
for women. And
Yes. Owning our worth. It's important.
we know why.
Yes.
So yes, and thank you for being here. I know, you've been going through some difficult times with your mother. So
Mhm.
I'll be saying prayers for her.
Thank
And I
you.
want to give a little shout out and say thank you to Kathleen Ritter, because she was the backup host for today.
Oh.
Since we didn't mention this before, but Terry's mom was having some health problems and she wasn't sure what was happening. So Kathleen was willing to fill in at the last minute if Terry wasn't able to. So I just want to say thank you to her for doing that. Kathleen was on the show, the Valentine's Day show. She was Kathleen Cavender, and she's a jazz singer and artist. But on that Valentine's show, we were celebrating her romance, and she actually got married in July. So she became Kathleen Ritter. She married Mark Ritter. So
thank you, Kathleen, for being the standby, because that would have been, I would have hated to leave you high and dry. So I'm so grateful that she was on standby and gave you some breathing space.
Yeah, I want to say thank you to the listeners for your support, and, stay tuned to Soulfire Radio. As I said, there'll be content there. And unfortunately, I can't say that I'm going to have another great show next week, but I do have a couple of quotes for you to end the show on and carry with you. And one of them is celebrate endings, for they precede a new beginning. And that was said by Jonathan Lockwood Huey. And then the heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. And that was actually said by Steve Jobs. And that is, he embodies the feeling I have about this new beginning. So
that's beautiful.
So I guess I'm going to say bye for now. Thank you, Terry, for being here and filling in as a wonderful host.
My pleasure. Thank you for the invite, and good luck with everything.
Yes, we'll definitely stay in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Soulfire Wisdom with Kate Olson. We hope you enjoyed the show. If we made you laugh, brightened your day, or sparked a new thought, we have succeeded in our mission. Join us next time when we'll share more secrets and truths and all the magic of transformation that is the journey to Soulfire Wisdom. Always remember, be fierce in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire.